Call the meeting to order. This is a public hearing concerning the proposed amendments to the UDO. And so we're going to receive those tonight. Before we do get started, we do have a couple of speakers, but I want to recognize Mike Poston to see if there's any comments from staff concerning the amendments to the Unified Development Ordinance.
I think, Mr. Chairman, thank you. It's good to be here tonight. I want to just briefly reiterate that so we're really looking at two main sections of the ordinance. One is the industrial development standards, and looking at small scale animal processing facilities and allowing those uses with some revised standards. Right now, they would be categorized as heavy industry, and it'd be very difficult to see one of those facilities built with the regulations in place today. So after some work with some community partners, we've taken a look at those standards to try to build some standards that might allow for that use and still protect the interest of the community. We're also looking at cryptocurrency mining, which is a newer type of use that we're seeing, which can have and has had in communities around us some higher impacts on the neighbors. So just putting in some standards that would allow that to be allowable use and still blend with our existing communities. And then also taking a look at part of that is to make sure that since they are high energy users, we want them to account for some of that energy use off the grid with some renewable resources. So we also put in some basic standards about how renewable energy could be achieved given our topography and our slopes. And then the last item comes from the 441 Planning Council about allowing breweries and microbreweries in our gateway district, which is the commercial district for the 441 area, and then the definitions that go along with those. I'll be happy to answer any questions, but that's the brief rundown of what we're here today to discuss.
Okay. All right, we do have, as I indicated, two speakers already signed up. Well, right, let them come up to the podium and share with us some thoughts. First is Lisa McBride. Lisa.
Hi, I'm here regarding the heavy industry ordinance and the meat processing. I represent a WNC Farm to Table, which is a local food hub, and it does aggregation. Basically, all I have to say is that we have a need for it because we've had a shortage of being able to process meat, and things like that. And I have farmers that cannot get to processing plants. K&B is the only one that we really can work with around here, and they're backed up. And so it's just something that we really need to look at that option. Also, on the other side of it, you have the lack of being able to process chickens and rabbits and things like that for commercial use, and those are needs that we have in the community for local food.
Thank you. Okay, next, Matthew Taylor.
Oh, sorry.
Good evening. I know most of y'all, and some of y'all follows me on Facebook, so you've seen operations that I represent here tonight. I'm co-owner and operator of Lewis and Taylor Farms, LLC, here in Jackson County. We're a newly formed business. We're farming land that's been farmed for 5 generations here in Jackson County, and we're very proud of that. But just to echo what Lisa said, there is a need for this change or the amendment that y'all are discussing tonight, and that reason being is because we run about 75 to 100 head of sheep at any given time on our farm, and right now, as she mentioned, K&B is the localist processor that we have, and they are only North Carolina Department of Ag certified, and that means that I can't commercially sell cuts of meat from them. For cuts of meat to be sold, it has to be USDA packaged with our label and everything that USDA facilities have. So at this time, there's federal legislation that has given monies out to people that are wanting to start up small and medium-sized processing facilities. And the way that it was presented to you, we can't technically have that in this county at this time. So if a person did want to seek that opportunity, they couldn't right now. There's numerous reasons that it would benefit the county. In March of 2020, we all saw what happened to the grocery store aisles. And I'm also involved with North Carolina Farm Bureau, and I've been across the whole state, and I've talked to farmers that said that the influx of their customer base really rose with people coming straight to the farm wanting products. Well, if people came straight to my farm right now, either they would have to process the animal themselves, which your average public person does not know how to do that, or they would have to go to the most local processing facility, USDA wise, is in North Georgia. They're just they're in Clayton, which is Blaylock's. Or they would have to try to get on the list with KMB, and sometimes they're backdated 6 months. So you can see everything that I've given you tonight indicates a reason to do this. I've visited lots of facilities across the state. I've been all across the nation with Farm Bureau. Gail's has followed us on Facebook and commented on lots of the places that we've been. I know the chairman has seen and talked to me about a lot of the stuff that we've done. And these facilities, if they're USDA inspected, even NCDA inspected, they're very clean. There's nothing negative about them. All of this is humane. And like Lisa said, it's just a need for our community. So, thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Matthew. Is there anyone else here in the audience that would like to speak concerning the proposed amendments to the UDO? I would also just like to call, for the record, we did receive a written comment, and I'll ask the clerk if she would just include this into the official transcript of the minutes. But it is a written comment from former Commissioner Ron Mao, who's provided some thoughts about the proposed amendments, and each one should have a copy of that. So we won't take time to read it this evening, but we will provide it for consideration. Anyone else here this evening like to speak concerning this item? All right, hearing none then, do I have a motion that we adjourn the public hearing?
So move.
Is there a second? Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed nay. The ayes have it. Okay, we'll go ahead and call to order our next meeting, which is the regular monthly meeting, our first business meeting of the month of October, today, October the 4th, 2022. First item of business is a proclamation. And I want to recognize Commissioner Tom Stribling, if he would, to present this proclamation on behalf of the board.
Thank you. Proclamation, Fire Prevention Week, October 9th through October 15th. Whereas Jackson County is committed to ensuring the safety and security of all those living in and visiting our area, and whereas fire is a serious public safety concern both locally and nationally, and homes are the locations where people are at greatest risk from the fire. And whereas home fires caused 2,580 civilian deaths in the United States in 2020, according to the National Fire Protection Association, and the fire departments in the United States responded to 356,500 home fires. And whereas smoke alarms sense smoke well before you can, alerting you to danger in the event of a fire in which you may have as little as 2 minutes to escape safely. And whereas working smoke alarms cut the risk of dying in reported home fires in half. And whereas Jackson County residents should be sure everyone in the home understands the sounds of a smoke alarm and carbon monoxide alarms and knows how to respond. And whereas Jackson County residents who have planned and practiced at home fire escape plan and are more prepared and will therefore be more likely to survive a fire. And whereas Jackson County first responders are dedicated to reducing the occurrence of home fires and home fire injuries through prevention and protection education. And whereas the 2022 Fire Prevention Week theme is Fire Won't Wait, Plan Your Escape. Now therefore, the Jackson County Board of Commissioners does hereby proclaim October 9th through 15th, 2022 as Fire Prevention Week and urges everyone to plan and practice a home fire escape for Fire Protection Week 2022 and support the many public safety activities and efforts of Jackson County Fire and Emergency Services, adopted this 4th day of October 2022.
Okay. And would you like to put that in the form of a motion to approve this proclamation? All right, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any question or discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. And we have with us this evening our fire marshal for Jackson County, Mr. Michael Forbes. I'd like to ask Michael to come forward, if he would, and talk a little bit about Fire Prevention Week. I know that started today in our school system. And we have an awesome group of volunteers and staff that work together to put on a program in our school system. We had to sort of put that on hold during the COVID days, but we're back at it full force. And just give a highlight to the board of what's going on this week with fire prevention.
All right. Can everybody hear me? Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Yes, we very much appreciate you adopting this proclamation. In 2016, we formed a group, Jackson County Fire and Life Safety, which is a nonprofit involving the emergency services of the county, all the fire departments, EMS, rescue squads, other members. We have members from Safe Kids and other agencies. And we go out throughout the year, education, in October, in the spring. This time of year, we start and we spend a day in each school. We go into the schools in the mornings, and we don't leave the schools until the day's over with. And we have, historically, before COVID, we were averaging 35 to 40 volunteers every day. That's including members of the American Red Cross and, like I said, all of the emergency services here in the county. So it's kind of, since COVID, it's kind of like we're starting over again. We had about 26 volunteers today at Smoky Mountain Elementary. And we'll be in a school every day this week until next Thursday. And I invite each of you to come out and read a book to the kids or just see what we're doing. It's a great day. We have a lot of fun. And after we do this in the fall, in the spring, will be doing CPR first aid. Every child that graduates 8th grade in Jackson County is certified in CPR. And it's not my idea. It's an idea of the group. We have a lot of people in the county that do a lot of good things. I'm just kind of the one that facilitates everything and gets it going. But we have that program. We rolled out a new reading program this year called Firefighters for Literacy. And we're working with all the public schools to try to increase testing scores in the grade that they desire. Most of the schools are doing 3rd grade. Some of them are doing 4th grade. And we're using volunteers, firefighters, to go into the schools. We go in, kind of talk to kids, talk to them about the importance of reading, how that can affect them in the future if they want to be a first responder. And we come back every month to try to keep them motivated. At the end of the year, there will be the person that has the most growth, not the person that reads the most books, but the person that increased their test scores the most. They'll get a ride to school in a fire truck. So it's pretty cool. And like I said, we're looking at test scores. We're looking at improving that. We're not looking at who can read the most books because that doesn't really matter. Everybody's different. I have a son that suffers from dyslexia, so I know the importance of just increasing a test score. So we have a lot of programs, and y'all have supported us a lot in the past. We took our fire and life safety trailer out to Smoky Mountain E today, and it's a beautiful thing, and we were able to use it for not the first time, but really the first time publicly. And we got a lot of praise about that, and it's because y'all supported us in the past every year that we were able to buy that and do a lot of the programs. So I could go on for days. I'll go on about it in the Citizens Academy. I get a little long-winded, very passionate about it, but we appreciate everything that you do to help us.
If you get a chance to see the trailer, it is awesome.
It's nice.
Yeah.
It's really nice.
Amazing tool to be able to train with and to teach children and adults what to do.
Yeah. So, and if you have any questions, I'll answer them. I'll be glad to share the schedule with you and email you the schedule if you need it.
I would like that schedule.
Okay.
And where do you get the books that you're giving them or reading?
We go to trainings every year. We go to a fire and life safety educator training every year down in Concord,
Okay.
and they recommend books, and then we purchase them, and based off of what the guidelines are for that year and in certain age groups and everything. It just depends. I usually buy them on Amazon. I've bought a lot locally from City Lights Bookstore. They've helped us out a lot in the past, so we try to shop local when we can. But when I can't find one locally, I have to go to the big box store. Sorry. So,
Well, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
I
Other
love
questions or
that.
comments? Okay. Well, we have a copy of the signed
Okay.
proclamation here. If you would like to take that
yes,
with you and
definitely.
share it with the group, and we appreciate all you do.
Thank you so much.
Okay, next is the approval of our agenda. Any changes for the agenda tonight? Hearing none then, do I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented tonight?
I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All right, any question or discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Next is the approval of the minutes. We've got 3 sets of minutes. The work session on September 13th, our public hearing concerning those transit grants that was held on September the 20th, and then our regular meeting minutes from September the 20th, 2022. After having a chance to review those as distributed by the clerk, what's the pleasure of the board? Okay. We have a motion to approve these 3 sets of minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
Any question or discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Next is administrative reports. For the chairman's report, I do not have anything this evening. Commissioner Dietz, we'll start with you this evening as commissioner reports.
I don't know how sporty all of y'all are if you keep up with sports, but every once in a while there's something that happens in sports that is it's a great tribute to Jackson County. And Cal Raleigh, who is son of my nieces, he plays for the Seattle Mariners. And if you happen to see last week, the Mariners hadn't been in the playoffs for the World Series for 20 years. And
21 to be exact.
21. And they had to win this particular game to get in the playoffs. And he was at bat and has 2 outs, and the count was 3-2. And it was in the 9th inning. And as Jerry Clywer said, he knocked a home run and won the game. And if you happen to have a chance to go somewhere and look at that on where we're at,
It's on YouTube.
YouTube.
ESPN. It's several.
it's the craziest
platforms.
celebration you ever seen in your
Yeah.
life for about an hour.
Yeah.
And they just keep interviewing Cal, and he's from Cullowhee. And I think it made me feel great because I know him since he's a kid. But I think it'd make all of you feel great just to see that, just because he's one of ours, and something happened 3,000 miles away that brought pride to this county right here.
Absolutely.
I think.
It was the longest playoff drought for a U.S. sports team, Major League, in U.S. history. So he ended it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Very awesome. Commissioner Woody?
I just wanted to mention our prayers go out to our Register of Deeds, Chandra Sims, whose daughter has passed away tragically, and we're just all thinking about her and praying for her and her family.
Okay.
And then on a really different note, several of us were able to participate in some celebrations recently outside in Jackson County, and one was the Cullowhee Valley Fall Festival, and one was a community picnic in Webster. And just going to those in the beautiful fall time of year and seeing how our community members are connecting with each other, enjoying being together. The kids were playing games, and adults were there, grandparents. It's just wonderful to see that. And to me, it's just an indication of how important our outdoor spaces are, because we know that it really enhances all of our lives when we join together in community.
Absolutely. Commissioner Jones?
Last meeting, I believe Commissioner Woody read a proclamation on October as Breast Cancer Awareness. Very recently, I had an acquaintance, a friend, who had, at the end of September, had a double mastectomy. She's doing fine. She's going to have to go through 25 radiation treatments. But we read a lot of these proclamations, and they all are for great causes and support throughout the community, but we all have been affected by, or have a family member or friend been affected by breast cancer. So keep that particular proclamation in your thoughts and minds and friends. And if you see a citizen, a friend, a relative, ask them if they had a mammogram recently. So I just wanted to share that and bring that back to light. And I've got my pink striped shirt on today.
And I do believe that the event that the town of Silva will be having is this Sunday, the 9th.
It is.
So for those that can attend, there will be an event downtown Silva. They've hosted this several years now. Commissioner Wood, do you have some details about that?
Yes, it's going to start at 3, and people can meet at the fountain. And it is the town of Silva's police department really plans this and organizes this, along with Mayor Linda Sossman, who, like myself, is a breast cancer survivor. So if you want to come, it's at 3 and by the fountain.
Okay, Commissioner Striblin?
I don't have anything tonight, actually. A couple of my things I wanted to mention were stolen, but that's all right. Yeah. That's all
That's
right.
how it happens sometimes.
Yeah.
We'll start with you next time, and you can do
No,
the
it's
same for them. Yeah. Okay. Well, at this time, we'll hear from our county manager. Mr. Adams, do you have a report this evening?
No formal report. We do have someone signed up.
Okay. All right. Now we'll move on to our informal comments by the public. This gives us an opportunity to hear from you. And we do have one person that is signed up to speak this evening. And so I'll recognize Rachel Bridgers. Rachel, if you'll come forward.
Hi, thank you for letting me speak. Just a little history to give context. My grandparents moved here in the 50s. I've been here since the 70s on and off every year, and then moved here in the 90s, married someone who's from here. So I know the neighborhoods. We've owned a house on Allen Street. We live on Savannah Drive. We live on Ridgeway, and we walk everywhere. So I know this is an issue of noise pollution because I have context and history. The highway stretch from about here to Dillsboro, the noise, like we're in a valley, a bowl, it just projects. And I think it's because of the casino, mag tires. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but having lived on Ridgeway at the same location that I do now, and being in all these different places, it wasn't an issue in the 70s, 80s, 90s. Mm-hmm. It is now. And I suggested any of you go just walk or go drive to different neighborhoods. We chose not to buy a house in a certain neighborhood underneath where the highway is because it was so loud. We tolerate it where we are. I think it's getting worse. And it's really noise pollution. So you talk about, Gail talked about going outside and being outside and having community. We find it obtrusive, and I speak to my neighbors and I speak to people all around different neighborhoods, and they feel the same way. So if you are in downtown Silva, in these communities where people live, they're impacted by the noise pollution, and I think I'm proposing a discussion talking to DOT. It says on their website that if so many people are impacted by it that they're required to build a noise amendment wall or whatever it's called. So this is what I'm hoping that we start the process.
So you're talking particularly about noise that comes from the US 7423.
Yes, yes. And you can hear it. Yeah, but you can step anywhere from the library down to Main Street. So I have friends who live along Main Street, into the communities behind the Catholic Church. That's pretty bad. Savannah Drive, you can hear it all the way, all the way along Savannah Drive until where it drops behind a mountain over on, there's one that goes down towards Webster where it's just a little obstructed, the noise. You go up Ridgeway all the way to the top. I mean, it's a bowl. We're in a bowl, so it's bouncing off. And the mag tires are particularly noisy. The increase in traffic, we did a little, sound experiment, and during COVID, it sort of dropped a little bit.
Sure.
But I think it's gone back up significantly, so. All right,
Okay, well, thank you so much for your comments.
thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak that did not get a chance to sign up? Okay. Well, we're going to move on then. Next, we'll take up our new business items. First is holiday schedule. Lowe's has started putting out Christmas, so I guess it's Christmas and Thanksgiving and everything else, so.
Well, this is really getting into the 2023, and I just have a couple simple items for the board today, and one is for the board to take up the 2023 holiday schedule. And we
see the proposal here, and these are items, in all seriousness, that we do vote on annually to establish these set holidays and
Yes,
which days we will officially be closed as a government office, and so that's what we're doing right now at this
Yes,
point. And our employees that get holidays off will have these days off. Any questions from the manager? All right, well, someone wants to put forward a motion where the floor is open.
I move that we accept the 2023 holiday schedule as presented.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second? All right, we have a second. Is there any question or discussion about it? Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Stribling? Yes. Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Woody?
Yes.
Commissioner Deeds?
Yes.
Chairman McMahon?
Yes, motion carries.
And the only other item I have before the board tonight is, I'll pull up on the screen here. The November meeting schedule currently is, we have our first meeting of the month, Tuesday, November 1st. That's at 6 p.m. Our second meeting, which is a work session, is November 8th, which is at 1 p.m. And our third meeting, which is November 15th, at a regular meeting at 1 p.m. I am here before the board to request the November 8th meeting. There's something going on, I believe, November 8th that some people may be a little busy, and so just respectfully requesting that we change that meeting, and if the board's available, I would recommend that 1 p.m. meeting be held November 7th. And I would recommend that in all seriousness, there is an election November 8th. After the election, generally there's things that need to be done by those who run for office immediately, days after, could be the next day or the day after, things of that nature. And so I would request we have this work session meeting November 7th. If we can't do it that week, then I would recommend that we just move on to the next week.
Does anybody have a schedule problem with shifting it to the 7th on a Monday? It would still be at the same time,
Yes, sir.
1 p.m. work session. Okay.
It is Airport Authority meeting that day at noon, but usually it's over by 1.
Okay, that works out good for you then.
Yes, sir.
All right, well, then what we'll need to do is to officially vote to change the meeting schedule, so a motion would be in order to make this change.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Jones to move the meeting date of the work session from November 8th to November 7th at 1 p.m. Is there a second for the motion?
Second.
Okay, any question or discussion? If not, Madam Clerk, if you'd call the roll, please.
Commissioner Deeds?
Yes.
Commissioner Woody?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Stribling?
Yes.
Chairman McMahon?
Yes, motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, next is item 3. This is fitness equipment leases. We'll recognize our finance director, Ms. Fox, to present the.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I've got leases for the Recreation Center for fitness equipment with Municipal Asset Management Incorporated. The Cullowhee site, the amount's $128,557.79, and the Cashier site is $120,177.59. It's a 4-year lease, and it includes a warranty for parts and labor for the fitness equipment.
Questions about the proposed leases for our recreation facilities?
One thing, I believe that I was at the Parks and Rec Board meeting, and one thing that Mr. Ellis mentioned was that they repair these as well
They do.
and keep them
up.
in working order. And I think that's so important. One thing that's so discouraging, I myself do not use gym equipment, but I have family members that do. And they don't really like it when they go in 4 machines are broken or, just one is working. So I think this really helps us a lot.
It does. And the money is appropriated in their budget.
Have we had any experience with the Carolina Specialty Fitness Equipment?
The last equipment we bought was from ProSource, but this is supposed to be a good firm.
He said he had gotten information from people using this and had much better response to needs if there was a part broken.
Mr. Ellis?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah. He mentioned that. That was the reason for the change.
Other questions or comments? Okay, would someone like to put forward a motion then to approve these leases?
I'll put that in form of a motion, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any other questions or comments?
The only comment I just want to make, that I know the board knows this, but for the public, this is funds that were approved in the current fiscal year budget. So these are not new funds being requested. This is ongoing expenses that we've incurred in the past and will continue to do so as long as we stay in this lease arrangement.
All right, hearing no other, then Madam Clerk, if you'd call the roll, please.
Commissioner Stribling?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Woody?
Yes.
Commissioner Deeds?
Yes.
Chairman McMahon?
Yes, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fox. Next, we'll move to our legislation portion of the agenda, and the first item in this category is item 4, which is the Governor's Highway Safety Program Grant Resolution. This will be Resolution R22-21. This time we'll recognize Major Queen to present the resolution.
Thank you, Chairman and Commissioners. This is our annual request that we have coming from the Governor's Highway Safety Office for a grant that runs on their cycle in the federal year, which actually began on October 1st, as you know. And so we're just a little bit behind on getting it in front of the board, but so we couldn't expend any funds out of it for the past few days, but that's not been a problem. Obviously, it's pays for some stuff around the county. Most recent purchases with this has been some of the speed display boards. Put one up in Webster and one up in Dillsboro. We have 2 more to be installed that we done some reworking of our money that came available towards the end of their budget year. Just came in, the product did, and so we still got to put those up. Yet to be determined locations, but we're probably going to try to put one up with DOT's permission on the hill coming down Dillsboro Hill into the 4-way intersection. That's had a lot of trouble with people running that red light. So we'd like to let people know what the real speed is. It turns to a 35 zone right there, and have a lot of people run that red light just unaware of what that's at the bottom of the hill, especially large trucks. So that's what's going to happen with the equipment we done bought. But this is going to be for newly purchased equipment, and also helps pay for our air cards that goes in our cars. It helps pay for some travel that I do to go to conferences as well. And the big number that we always like to see up there is not the 25,000 that comes, but it's the match that's free. So $0 match, and just with their particular grant, it just requires a resolution as opposed to some signatures. So, and that's it.
All right.
Have any questions?
Any questions?
Do you find when you have those signs where it says what speed you're actually going, do those make people slow down? I mean, I pay attention.
So those signs that we particularly have actually collect data,
Oh,
and they can be turned off and collect the same data. So it's not always, even though it's off, it can still collect data. So that the numbers kind of show that it tells you to slow down.
okay.
I mean, even personally speaking, if I can be doing the speed limit, and if I see something that's telling me to slow down, I slow down unintentionally anyway, take my foot off the accelerator. So I don't think I'm in the oddity with that. So I think they work. And now repetitive trips through there, I'm sure people probably don't always do it. But if we can slow a few down, then that we can help just stay a little slower.
For what it's worth, I find that the signs that flash the blue lights that tells you you're going too fast have very good impact on my driving.
The DOT regulations on those don't allow us to put those for hours to flash. They're not a fan of those. So ours don't do that. I only want things that we have flashes. You don't want to see those either.
Thanks for that clarification.
Yeah. So that I know what you're talking about. I like the ones too that are on the crosswalks. The ones that comes on a crosswalk that flash. I really find those effective for crosswalks. One of our projects has been trying to get our towns that especially don't have police coverage to improve their crosswalks, which has been just notification awareness to the public. So, and that's the one in Dillsboro, particularly, and the one in Webster, was put to slow people down near a crosswalk. So
Yes, I noticed that.
People don't know that the people in the crosswalk have the right of way.
yeah,
Absolutely.
A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
yeah. The town of Silva struggled with it for years, and so you can go to Dillsboro, and that was brought to us by the town of Dillsboro trying to do enforcement for it, and it's hard to enforce because you can't be there 24/7, and then a lot of people just don't know, and it's hard to turn around and go chase people down safely in a 25 zone too. So anybody we can slow down for it, to make them aware for it, that was the plan right there. And I think we've the numbers kind of will show us that not everybody's going to do the exact speed limit, but they're also not just blowing it out of the water either. So, so they are slowing down compared to the speeds that were reported to us before. And then the stealth mode, it's called, that's collected numbers before. I do believe it works.
Good. Do you have plans to put one in Cashers at any?
We were going to put 2 in Cashers, and then High Hampton actually put 2 up right in the same area when they put the golf cart pathway above the road with DOT approval. They wound up putting 2 right in the same area that we had planned on putting them because that was our complaint area.
That's right.
And they worked with DOT and paid for them themselves. So as you come on into Cashers towards the red light, you automatically slow down for the red light anyway. So the speed right there was different. But yeah, about where the cornucopia is at is where people started having some speed trouble. So that's not far off from where they put their signs anyway. So and I think they've worked too. I was up last week for their first responder day and came down through there and saw my number and let my foot off the gas. My number wasn't that great either. So. But they worked for me again that day. So,
Any other comments or questions?
Does the High Hampton offer those statistics as well, access?
I didn't ask them about them. I knew we were working towards it. We had a little hiccup in trying to get some of the equipment in the first go around. Dillsboro was the one we wanted to try first. They had an identifiable incident with a pedestrian. Didn't get struck, had actual somebody get really close to being struck, and then had a couple complaints to their town board as far as people writing letters back to their town board who had been shopping and couldn't believe people weren't stopping at crosswalks or the speed that people were going to. So we went right there first, and our second group was intended to go to Webster because we had the same kind of thing that was going on, especially with when 107 construction was going to go on, and the bypass to jot across through Webster with the people coming to Southwestern. And then our third was to go there and to look at the statistics. So I didn't get them back. I don't know if their boards do exactly what that was, which is collect that data. And I didn't think to ask the other day, but it's probably a very good point. I can follow up on it. But with that third board, we were going to collect the data and say, and a lot of times people they sound like they're going faster than they really are. A big truck looks like it's going faster than a small vehicle does, just naturally by the human's eye. It's the reason people pull out in front of stuff. That's hard to judge speed, but we all judge speed. You pull out in front of anybody, just might not always associate a number with it. So that area up there, just driving through it, the DOT had done a study, and DOT didn't recommend a mile per hour change. Based on their study, the little like hoses that run across through there. So their data didn't show a huge problem right there, so they didn't want to change it. It's my understanding, but I will follow up on that and let you know to see if theirs collects. We turned over the collection portion of these as they run out of their year portion with us to let the towns collect it themselves and give us the feedback for Webster and Dillsboro so far.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, correct? We have a motion and a second yet on this one? Okay, do we have a motion then? Would someone like to make a motion?
I move we do so.
Okay, we have a second?
Second.
All right, any other discussion or question? If not, Madam Clerk, if you call the roll, please.
Commissioner Deeds?
Yes.
Commissioner Woody?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Stribling?
Yes.
Chairman McMahon?
Yes, motion carries. Thank you, Major Queen.
Thank you all. Have a good evening.
Okay, next is item 5, the Unified Development Ordinance Amendments. And once again, we'll ask Mr. Poston, our planning director, to come forward. We did have a public hearing this evening. Received a couple of comments concerning the proposed amendments, and this also has gone before all the planning councils for their feedback and as well as public hearings.
Correct.
And any additional comments you'd like to offer this evening, Mr. Poston?
I'd be happy to answer any questions. What I did want to remind the board that in addition, if the board is considering to approve these amendments, we also need you to approve the attached consistency statement where we talk about how these changes are consistent with our land use plans and ordinances. And I think what you'll find is that some of our overall objectives in the land use plan, 2040 land use plan, include goals to continue to monitor developing land use trends to ensure county development ordinances meet the needs of the county. And that usually is what that's our ongoing goal as a planning department, is to continue to monitor our ordinances to make sure that they are keeping up with the changes in land uses. And specifically to the 441 jurisdiction with the change, we do believe that change in the table of uses is in compliance with the principles that talk about environmental stewardship, economic prosperity, and the protection of quality of life in the mountain community. I'm happy to answer any questions that the board may have. I know we've talked about the standards on a couple meetings, and I'll be happy to go through any of those if there's still questions about those standards and how they would apply if approved.
Okay. Any questions, additional questions or comments? Would someone like to put forward a motion then to approve the amendments as well as the consistency statement?
I'd make that motion to approve the Unified Development Ordinance amendments as presented and explained, as well as a statement of consistency.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, if you'd call the roll, please.
Commissioner Stribling,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Woody,
Yes.
Commissioner Deeds, Chairman McMahon.
Yes, motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
And just so people know, a lot of people may not know, we had a lengthy discussion about this at the work session where we had lots of questions and Mr. Poston answered, so.
Correct. Item 6 is our special event ordinance. This is for a New Year's Day 5K race, and Ms. Baker is here to present this request.
Yes, I'll talk about item number 6 and item number 7 together. These are two ordinances that we bring to you every year at about this time. The first is for the New Year's Eve event that the rec department puts on, near the Cullowhee Rec Department. And the second is in conjunction with Greening Up the Mountains. And with both of these 5K races, the roads do not close. This is just an ordinance that needs to be approved to allow for rerouting of the road for the traffic during the time of the race, just to keep everyone safe. And it has to go through this process for that to happen. And I'll be glad to answer any questions.
They just detour.
They do. They set out the cones and do the things that they need to keep everybody safe and take traffic in a safer way, away from the participants.
Any questions or comments? We'll take them one at a time then, since they're both separate ordinances. First item, item 6, the New Year's Day 5K race. Is there a motion to approve this ordinance?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, any question or discussion? Hearing none, then Madam Clerk, if you'd call the roll, please.
Commissioner Deeds?
Yes.
Commissioner Woody?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Stribling?
Yes.
Chairman McMahon?
Yes, motion carries. Item 7, likewise, the Greening Up the Mountains 5K race ordinance. If someone put forward a motion.
So moved.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Any question or discussion? Hearing none, then Madam Clerk, if you'd call the roll, please.
Commissioner Stribling? Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Woody?
Yes.
Commissioner Deeds? Chairman McMahon?
Yes, motion carries. Any need for closed session this evening?
No, sir.
Okay, that's good news. So I have the best motion of the evening, the motion to adjourn. Nobody jumps out there.
So moved.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank each one of y'all for coming this evening. Have a good evening.